Is it better to hit a stinger driver, low fade, in an aim to hit more fairways? Or is it better to hit a big high bombing draw that goes further up there to get closer to the green? So let's hit a low fade driver stinger. First thing I've done is I've teed the ball lower. I've got the ball much lower, so I've got more chance to access it down here, so I can get down to that golf ball, so I can squeeze the ball out, hit it up the left and let it drift back to the fairway. Or I could hit it off the toe, overdraw it and get it in the trees. And I suppose that's why I wouldn't advise you getting on the golf course and just going, oh, I'm going to hit a stinger driver that I've never done before, because I rarely do it. I'd get on the practice ground and I'd practice it a few times and actually get a feel for it and actually get used to it. But I want to see if I can get some of these things going out. I've got a lower tee. I'm going to get my chest left of the golf ball so I can access the ball down. If I get my chest over here, I'm going to go up to the golf ball. I'm going to be over this side of the ball as much as I can. I'm going to be left and stay there. So I can get that little low, trying to fade sort of shot. Not as long as my normal shot, but it's not unhealthy. It's still up there. I've been working on this with a few people and it's sometimes helpful for that player, sometimes not helpful for that player. It's not for everyone. But generally we get lower launch and higher spin when we're trying to play these low feedy shots. Chest left, release down. Now that's more of a low draw than anything. I should probably do this with my normal driver, but we're 280 up there, we're in the left rough. I've hit the same shot a few times, it's not varying too much, which is good. But in a way, I could just hit a normal 3-wood to the same effect. Maybe into winds, this could be beneficial, but if you do this into wind and you get a lot of spin, it's going to climb in that wind. Let's have one more go for a low one. It's popped up a little bit higher, but it's kind of low and up the left-hand side. In the tree. I'm struggling to squeeze it out right because I'm sort of not used to it, but I could get used to it. I can see the benefits in this shot, but it definitely does cost some distance. Now, if I get the ball on a much higher tee, I've got more room to access that golf ball and hit up on it. I've got more space to create that shot. But as it happens, I've got all these shots in a really nice little cluster. It's not really moved away from that shot, so it's a consistent thing to do in some scenarios. So let's get some big high ones up there. So now I'm going to get my chest to the right hand side so I can access the ball this way. I'm going to stay behind the ball as much as I can to get through it. And it didn't read. Much more height. Similar sort of direction. It's just carrying over everything. On a windy day, that could get affected by the wind a lot more. So there is that to consider. But it is 323 and right up there. Now, if I'm hitting the stinger driver off a low tee, launching it down there, I cannot hit it 323. The shot is simply not available. But there is a danger that when you go offline, you go really offline. That is off the scope. That could be a very difficult shot back into the green. So I kind of see why some people would like that low stinger driver, because it's a bit more reliable and predictable. So you could really choose either one of these shots depending on the hole that you're playing, depending on where that bad shot goes, how damaging that is. If you've got loads of space, have at it. Get it up on the tee, get the ball up there, get the ball out there. If you've got a really narrow fairway, then yes, it could be better to go for a lower tee. You kind of got to make that judgment call on the hole that you're playing. Another thing to consider here is that the shots gained increase. It gets better statistically across the course of the year if you get further up and closer to the green. So again, if there's a scenario where you can launch the ball a little bit further and get the ball further up there, your shots gained statistically is a better thing to go for, in my opinion. And yeah, okay, it's hugging the left side, but it is definitely way past where the other balls go. That tree could be in the way. That could be an issue. Are you playing match play? Are you playing stroke play? Are you 3 down and you need to keep it in play? Are you 3 up and it doesn't matter if you lose a hole? So let's get one right up there. Yeah, there we go. That is the benefit of teeing it higher and going for that higher launching shot, going for the distance. because sometimes you can hit the fairway and get it right up there. 336 on the fairway, but the other shots missed. The other shots had a very difficult second shot. So sometimes I think of it this way. If I'm going to play the shot 10 times, how many times out of 10 is the shot going to work? Now, if I'm stood on a hole that's quite tight, quite narrow, and I'm going for the big shot, I might get a good shot 3 times out of 10. But if I'm going to hit the low stinger and I feel like I'm going to get 8 times out of 10 successful shot, maybe that's a better choice. Let's go for one more low stinger, but I'm going to try and swing it as fast as I can. Chest, left, shot, down. And I've pretty much hit the same shot as the other ones. Yes, I'm hugging the left rough. It's my normal tendency. I've got it up there a bit more, but I've peaked at 299. I've peaked at a certain yardage. So when I'm going higher, my peak height is 120 feet. Lower, my peak height is 51 feet. That's very different. The wind hitting the 120 feet is going to vary it more. The wind hitting the 51 feet, very, very different. It's going to move a lot less. It's going to vary a lot less. Ball speed a little bit slower. Launch way lower. Spin rate actually staying quite low. Sometimes when people are going for the stinger, which is why not everyone kind of like benefits from it, if you hit the stinger and you get like 4,000, 3,500 spin, that's too much. So that's going to depend on your version of the shot or your equipment, how your equipment then kind of like manages it. Give it a go, try it out, try and get in somewhere with some data and see what your version of the stinger shot does. Is it going to help you? Is it not? Maybe do a test like this where you compare both. Side spin 500, side spin 440, so the low one has less side spin for me. Variance in the side spin 170, variance in the side spin 256. So I've got more side spin, more variance in side spin on the big shot. I've got less side spin, less variance in the shot with the low one. But it is a big difference in carry. I've got 260 against 303. I'm costing myself 40 yards by playing the stinger shot, but I'm potentially going to hit more fairways if I were to tune in and get used to it. It's faster, it's higher, it's good spin. 1800 is a little bit too low a spin when we've got 8-degree launch in general, which is why we only get 260 carry. But my dispersion is much smaller left to right. I've got a bigger dispersion sideways with the big shot, with the high shot. I've got less variation left to right on the low shot. It'd probably help if I did this test with the driver I actually play with, but I know the driver that I play with. If I go for the stinger in my current setup, I don't get enough spin, the ball drops out the sky, so I chose one that would just lift it up a bit more, and actually the spin rate stayed quite good, relatively speaking. Have you played around with a stinger driver? Have you played around with hitting the ball lower off the tee, off a lower tee? And how did you generally find it? Do you carry on doing it? Do you do it all the time, or do you do it some of the time when it makes sense? Do you kind of vary the strategy a little bit? Use the tee height to trigger your brain to say, I'm playing this type of shot, and see how you get on the golf course. Let me know how you get on. Let me know if you do it already. Jump in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video.